What's up, everybody? It's Alex from Heavy New York. We are back at the Gold Sounds in Brooklyn, and today we are here with Light the City. Thank you all for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Yes, thank you. We're stoked.
Yep. We have Laura and Ben here, and I got to tell you, Terminal Bloom, your latest record, is absolutely kick-ass. Let's just give a rundown on how the making of it was.
Thank you, first off. The making of it was super fun, super easy, and pretty quick. It's weird. Ryan Hansen, our guitar player, and I wrote all the music in about a 2-month period, and we just kind of got it all together within a couple months after that, and then popped into the studio. And it's nice because it's like we didn't have these songs brewing for like years, so it's like it feels so fresh and new. It doesn't feel stale or anything, and we just got on a roll, and like the creativity was just flowing. So it was a really easy process. And 10 years of not writing melodic death metal, there was just a lot of like energy to do that, you know?
Yeah.
What about lyrics? What about you?
Yeah, same thing. It was just kind of like riding a bike, and Ben and I have really just dialed in our the way that we work together and the way that we kind of fit lyrics into the songs. Now we just have it down to a science, pretty much. So
yeah, we had four Light the City albums and then 4 Heart Sounds albums. So her and I have done 8 albums together, and so by number 9 it was it's pretty easy.
Still as much fun as ever, though. That's my favorite part of the whole process.
You don't hear that too often.
No, it's super fun. It really feels like you're making, when you get those moments of, oh my gosh, like this locks in so perfectly, this part goes like this, and like we're working together. And
well, you're referring to putting the lyrics into the songs, not writing the lyrics, right? Because I hate writing lyrics.
No, I like writing lyrics.
She likes writing lyrics.
Because the way that I do it, I usually I can usually do it in one run. I don't write a song over like a couple days or anything like that. I usually write it all at once. One song, that is, not the whole album. So it always feels very kind of just like a relief. Like you get it done.
Do you need to like hear music in order to come up with lyrical concepts, or has there ever been a time where like you thought of a concept and that determined the music?
No, I think there has been a couple times.
Really? No, well, to my knowledge, there's never been like a time when Laura's like, "Hey, I wrote this song, which is like this kind of vibe, so let's write a song like that." What happens is like the music's all written usually before we even place lyrics to them, and we usually just out of the songs choose the most fitting one mood-wise. Like if you wrote a super pissed song, we'd put it to one of the more thrashier ones.
Yeah.
If you wrote a more emotional song, we'd put it to one of the melodic ones. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
Now, from listening to your record, like I instantly thought of like, because you mentioned melodic death metal, and I instantly like thought of like Soilwork, In Flames, At the Gates,
Awesome.
like some of my favorite styles.
Great.
Were you guys taking like inspiration from like European style death metal, or were you looking at also like the Morbid Angels and Obituaries and stuff like that?
Most definitely. I mean, I love Morbid Angel and Obituary. We all love death metal. We love, brutal death metal. We all love thrash metal. Light the City starting was what you previously mentioned, like At the Gates, In Flames, Soilwork, Dark Tranquillity. All those bands were basically the reason we started. Also, like Darkest Hour and Black Dahlia Murder. Like we started at the time that this second wave-ish of melodic death bands were around and killing it. They still are, but that was huge for forming the band. But since then, and in the last 10 years that we haven't been a band, we still all listen to that kind of stuff. But writing this record, to me, it's not like I revisited old In Flames just to kind of like get in the vibe. But honestly, it's like I kind of just like writing it without constantly trying to be influenced by other things, because I'll probably just subconsciously mimic some of what they're doing. So I kind of like, I mean, they all know, we all listen to all kinds of shit. I listen to mostly hip-hop these days and other stuff, and it's like, I think this sounds so fucking douchey and pretentious, but I just think like music generally in life kind of inspires the sounds. It's not really like, I don't sit down being like, I want to write an At the Gates style riff, or I want to write.
Well, no, it's good that you mentioned that, because I had a discussion with somebody one time are you inspired by this, or are you just straight up ripping it off? And it's always a hard line to determine that.
Our first couple records, people could probably say like they're just straight ripping it off. And they certainly did say that, but when you're teenagers, I was talking to a friend about this. When a band is on their first or second record, it's so like it's usually a statement of like this is our style, like this is what we're trying to be, this band. And then usually later on in their career is when they actually develop their own voice within that style. But so yeah, you know, it's like over time it's just kind of like people can hear Heart sounds within Light the City riffs. Like it's all just kind of how Ryan and I write music, and her lyric, you know, it's just there's so many influences. Ryan is like a fucking like power metal, like prog, like nerd with that shit. And like I don't listen to any of that kind of shit.
17.5-minute guitar solos.
Yeah.
Oh
And he
gosh.
fucking shreds. Like he's 10 times the guitar player I'll ever be. But you know, it's all these weird. We're a concoction of weird personalities, and you know, we have all different influences, and yeah.
How different of a mind frame were you both in doing Like the City as opposed to Heart Sound?
That's a good question. I think a pretty similar one. I mean, Ben and I have, you know, been best friends for 15 years, and we've gone through a lot together, and gone through some pretty, you know, hard times. And our last Heart Sounds record really dealt a lot with kind of, you know, mental illness and shit that we've been dealing with, you know, just personally. And Terminal Bloom, you know, I kind of took over the lyrics more on that, and wrote about kind of my mental health struggles. And so I would say, yeah, pretty similar, pretty dark.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say that, like, even though it was, like, our comeback record after 10 years, and, you know, someone could say there's a lot of, like, weight on that, or, like, pressure, or, like, expectations, or whatever, I knew that we were going to, like, kill it, or just, like, for that the Light the City fans were going to enjoy it. Like, no part of me, none of us felt like, can we still do this? Are we going to suck at this now? It's like, no, we're going to be way better than we ever were. But for me going to this record, I think I felt less pressure than a Heart Sounds record, because Heart Sounds record I have to write lyrics, also her, but for Light the City it's just her doing lyrics. But for Heart Sounds I have to do that. I have to kind of reach into myself to pull out meaningful, you know, subject matter and tough subject matter, and you know, I write all the music for Heart Sounds, and so that's just more of like it weighs on me a bit more, and it's like I'll never be comfortable like singing, even though I've gotten better over the years. And so just going into this being like, I'm going to write the music with Ryan, and then I just play the drums, and like we're all just like everyone plays their role. Does that make sense? Like I guess I just feel more.
I don't know how John Mayer like does everything behind his band. Like.
Yeah. I mean, it probably helps to have millions of dollars, but still.
I said on one interview about the lyrics on the album, I was talking about both bands, and it still rings really true. Heart Sounds for me feels like a really exhilarating challenge, just because I'm playing guitar and actually, you know, singing notes, and Light the City just always kind of feels like home. So it's really the best of both worlds, and I need both of those outlets in order to kind of like make it whole.
Yeah, and it's got to help you approach each project kind of like with a breath of fresh air.
Yep.
And
Absolutely.
Yeah, this is something I talk about often, like on my podcast and with other musicians, is like just this idea of like not putting all your creative eggs in one basket, because it's like bands can tend to suffocate themselves, or songwriters, when they're just like I'm always just have to generate work for this band. But in a cheesy way, it's like I need to paint with different musical brushes. Like that's why Heart Sounds is like scratches that itch for like melodic punk. You know, Light the City's melodic death metal. Me and Ryan play, and Brett, who's filling in on bass for this tour, for us, we play in like just a blackened thrash metal band called Wilderness Dream, and that's just pure, just pissed off. Like it's not technical, it's just like super pissed, and it's like, so when I'm in like the darkest, angriest time, I can write those riffs and be like, I want to write a Wilderness Dream riff, versus like I want to write a Light the City riff. But it's like I need those options. If it was just Light the City, I would have these feelings of like I want to get more melodic, or I want to get heavier, but it's too heavy. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's like I always encourage people like, yo, like you can have your main band and like focus it. It's like, but don't stop your creativity. Like don't ever stop writing. Like, you know, like
it's cool to experiment, but if you do all your experimentation in one band, it might be all over the place.
you
And
can alienate people. You can alienate your fans. You can make too quick of a jump into a new sound. You know, which a lot of bands do, which is like record number 2 is this ripper, and record number 3 is like ballads, you know, and it's just like, why didn't you just do a different fucking project for that, or you know, or just have one of those tracks on the record, and then so that kind of thing. It's like I'd rather not. With Heart Sounds and Light the City, we've always stayed true to our sound. Like we evolve, we progress, and I'd like to think that we mature.
And
with
both
our-
bands help inform the other,
Yeah.
the writing process of the other one and help
and maybe
help it
can
evolve.
help you bring in some newer elements. Maybe experimenting with hard sounds can bring in some new elements to Light the
Yes.
City.
Absolutely.
Definitely. And naturally, that's going to happen over time. Just like with my songwriting, it's like it just evolves as one kind of thing. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like writing 4 Hard Sounds albums before this new Light the City record, like absolutely played a role in like how how this record sounds. And yeah, I just to cap off what I was saying, I don't think Light the City or any of our bands, we would never be so bold, I guess, or just like we've never wanted to take a left turn with our sound at all. Like it's just
Except for stopping Light the City and going to melodic punk
true.
10 years ago.
But that's a new style, new band. It's not taking Light the City and making it sound like a punk record.
Yeah,
so-
exactly.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And the final question I would like to ask you guys, because we just really went in depth on the songwriting process and like the emotional aspects behind it. But then you're in the studio and the practice space experimenting this. But then you're bringing it live. How different of a vibe do you have playing these songs live versus like in the studio or the practice space?
Well, okay. Live versus the studio or practice space. Our practices are super fun. Like we smoke a ton of weed, drink beer, and like we just have a great time. Like luckily, we don't go so hard with any of our bands like full-time touring that it burns us out and we hate it.
Right.
So it's like, it's a pretty like between practice and live, it feels like a pretty seamless. Like not much changes. Same with the studio. I just think that it's like. It's all one kind of seamless thing. But for a second, I thought you were going to ask, like, how are these new songs different for you live from the old ones? And I was going to let her comment on the
You can answer that if you like.
challenges of the old songs for you.
Oh my God.
I got it.
1,000 lyrics per song.
I got to
Try-
hear this. Thanks for asking the
Yeah,
question.
yeah.
Trying to basically cram every single lyric that I've ever written into a 3-minute song. Yeah,
Our old
that
songs
was
are just like the verses are like 6 paragraphs.
Yeah.
It's like it's just a lot, and so she's learned. I mean, I'm talking for you now. Go ahead.
Well, and it's not to say that like it's too hard for me, so that's why we changed our writing process a little bit. I realized that it's much more powerful to just kind of like let certain bars of music breathe and like let your vocals kind of expand over like a longer period of time. And so I definitely try to write shorter songs down, kind of fit it in a different pattern, and it's just part of the evolution of songwriting. But it's definitely easier on me too.
And if you listen back to like Jester Race, Era in Flames, or Colony, or like any of those bands, Dark Tranquility, and At the Gates too, like they're not cramming lyrics into like like
Just interviewed them. Yeah.
oh yeah, that's awesome. And it's like they're just not barking away like
Yeah.
fucking 1,000 words per verse. They're like they really just have these powerful lyrics that they let just kind of like they state they let it soar. It's like it's just more powerful. And for me personally, when I hear a band with just like really fast vocals and extreme music, I can't really tell what's going on. Like
Yeah, and live too. Like I've noticed way more. I love our older songs, and I mean some of them are like just always going to be some of the most special songs to me. But I've noticed that with these shows, I can really connect with the audience when I am able to like take a breath and say a certain line that's like a little bit longer than just like rapid fire kind of lyrics at people, or just like trying to focus on my breath or something. So I feel like our newer songs, I can almost connect with people more live when I'm singing those.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
So before we go, I'd like to thank you guys so much for your time. You're
you.
doing this awesome tour right now with Gygax. Is there just anything else for the Terminal Bloom era that we could be expecting, or anything else you'd like to
Oh
promote?
yeah.
Yeah, both those things. So Terminal Bloom, we're planning on doing Mexico, Japan, and ideally Europe next year.
We'll do just fine in Europe.
Yeah, no, we've never been there over the last 16 years, and we're dying to.
Light
and
the
Hard
City
Sounds
ha-
has
yeah.
been there, yeah. Light the City hasn't been there, and we really want to get there. There's a few more places to check off the list before we write another record. So we're probably not going to do any more U.S. shows unless we get on a tour or something. I don't know. We're still figuring it out.
Maybe some hometown shows.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. But there's other places we want to go. We're thinking of going out to Texas for a weekend. or
Oh
something,
yeah,
doing
I
shows
love
out
that
there.
idea.
They always treated us well.
Don't mess with Texas.
Yeah, no, fuck. I
Love
that place, man.
Texas.
But
That always felt like home too.
yeah.
On tour.
And I don't know, anything to plug. Check out our label, Creator Destructor Records.
And your podcast.
Yeah, in the Creator Destructor podcast. She's frequently a guest. She might be more of a permanent co-host at some point. We'll see. But, we're just doing our thing. I said last night on stage, like, we're 100% DIY. Like, we run our own label, we press our own shit, we control our own artwork and merch, and if you've ordered anything from us, it's me shipping it to you while I'm high in my bedroom. So it's like...
That's a good way to do it. I'll save that FedEx load.
Yeah, exactly. But no, just check out Gygax, check out Creator Destructor Records, and the bands on there. They're all really fucking awesome.
You will not be disappointed.
Deserve your attention. And thanks for the interview, and check out Terminal Bloom if you haven't heard it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Everybody, like this city, pick up Terminal Bloom. If you haven't already. I can't even repeat all the stuff he just promoted, so rewind and check all that out as well. And we'll see you next time on Heavy New York, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye. Thanks.